My father's expertise in American and Filipino cuisines promised to make my party a fabulous culinary event. Grandma and uncle were also skilled cooks and would assist in the preparations. Our guests eagerly anticipated the feast, and so did I. One Saturday, a few days before the party, and in the midst of our heavy preparations, someone rang our doorbell. When I opened the door, I was surprised to see Manong Tommy, one of my father's friends, who was probably in his 50s. Like most Filipino men in California at that time, he worked as a farm laborer. Manong Tommy was wearing a flashy sharkskin suit and a stiffly starched white shirt with a bright red bow tie. Sparkling gold and rhinestone cufflinks adorned his wristbands. He had red suspenders clipped to his loose trousers. His shoes glistened and smelled of black boot polish. I also caught a whiff of the pungent sweetness of the thick pomade on his black hair, perfectly parted down the middle, and a diamond ring sparkled on the pinky of his left hand. He had a bright red kerchief and a large cigar in his breast pocket, and was holding a black fedora hat. He was obviously garbed and groomed for some special occasion. Manong Tommy was a family friend who had visited our home on several occasions with the other Manongs from the farms in Stockton. He had been very kind to me and my sister as we were growing up, but we had not seen him in a while. He seemed very nervous, which was most unlike him. It seemed odd for him to be all dressed up so early in the morning. As I greeted him, I said, "My goodness, Manong Tommy, where are you going?" I thought he was going to a wedding. Manong Tommy stammered as shy, "Hello, is Stanley home?" He quickly corrected himself in order to be polite. "Oh no, I mean your father, is he home?" Just then my father approached to see who was at the door. "Ah, it's you, Tommy." Daddy proceeded to happily greet him in their Ilocano dialect, which I barely understood, as Tagalog was our spoken language at home. Sisti came to my side at the doorway and she playfully elbowed me. We both struggled hard not to laugh. Daddy graciously led Tommy into the dining room. Filipino men of the time, Filipino men of the same dialect or who came from the same province had a special camaraderie with one another, especially in a country so far away from their homeland. They treated each other as cousins, whether they were related by blood or not. They helped one another, especially whenever anyone got into trouble. Daddy and Manong Tommy sat down on the couch and began talking in Ilocano, occasionally switching over to Tagalog or English. Sisti and I took the chairs across from them and listened politely, as Grandma had taught us not to interrupt adult conversations. Meanwhile, Manong Tommy kept mopping his brow with the red kerchief and sneaking glances in my direction. After a while, I noticed that Manong Tommy was eyeing me quite often, and it began to make me feel uncomfortable. I deliberately avoided looking at Sisti lest we burst into giggles, which would have been deemed impolite by our elders. Suddenly, fortified by summoned-up courage, Manong Tommy stood up, faced my dad, and said emphatically in English, "Your daughter, Evangeline, will be 18, and I beg you for her hand in marriage. I offer you as a symbol of my love for her 25 chickens and a pig for her birthday party to seal our engagement." And pointing to the front window, the diamond ring on his pinky glittering, he announced, "The chickens and the pig are in my car, waiting to be brought into the house." I could not believe my ears. My sister and I suddenly leaped from our chairs and ran to the front window. Sure enough, there was the pig, its head hanging limply over the rumble seat of his old Model T Ford, and the chickens lay in a heap on the back seat. Sisti looked at me in disbelief and said, "He wants to trade you for a bunch of dead animals." and we could no longer contain ourselves and ran out of the room in a fit of laughter. We heard Daddy's voice rise in anger. You what? You want to marry my daughter? No, you can't marry Evangeline. Take your chickens and pig and go back to the farm. And from the hallway we watched Daddy pace back and forth, his arms waving in the air as he continued to bellow in Ilocano, Tagalog, and English as his friend Manong Tommy's face had turned red beet, his kerchief now completely soaked with sweat. Okay, I leave now. And in his haste to escape from my furious father, he fled past us and out the front door, leaving his hat behind. And Daddy ran after him through the fedora, down the front stairs at Manong Tommy's running heels, and yelled, "Don't you ever come back!" I felt sorry for Manong Tommy. He had been very kind to me as I was growing up. However, I could see why he was desperate for a bride. Since eligible Filipino women were almost non-existent in the community,
he probably thought that my having reached womanhood would present an opportunity for him to pick a young dalaga. I could understand Daddy's anger. He had high hopes for Sisti and me. He had always mentioned that he wanted most of all for us to be educated and to concentrate our efforts on college, not marriage, while we were young.
To speak my mind. Hi, dear Fonz folks. I am so sorry that I cannot be with you this weekend, and I want to wish you a very happy and successful conference. Have a wonderful, wonderful time. I will miss all of you. And again, thank you for all of the support you have given me over the many years as a Fonz member. I appreciate all the help, and I appreciate all the friendships I have made in the Fonz family. Thank you, and again, have a great time. Bye.